Welcome to School Talk on 98.5 WJHI LP Jeffersonville, home of the Red Devil Network. I am Clay Abels here with you today on another edition of School Talk. This will be playing on July 27th, Monday. Here with me is the Superintendent of Greater Clark County Schools, Mr. Mark Laughner. How are we doing today, sir?
Great. Thanks for having me back on.
It's great to have you with us today. I think you're officially the busiest man in America. You've certainly had quite an agenda over the last few weeks since we last talked. As we stand today, give us the latest. I know earlier in the week, when we go back, mask requirements now with Greater Clark County Schools is big on the agenda. Jeffersonville High School the first week, they'll be virtual. Any other big news that you'd like to throw in there, and kind of what's the latest for people to get a hold of?
Yeah, one thing everyone needs to know in the community is that we will follow the governor's executive order in regards to masks. So grades 3 through 12 will be required to wear masks when they come into our building. Our staff will be required to wear masks when they come into our building, or when they're working in public. And also, don't let me forget, pre-K through second grade, we're still highly recommending that those students wear masks when they come to school. And I don't want to forget about them. It has been busy. We've put a plan together where we believe we can start school safely for our staff and our students. We've been collaborating with Dr. Yazel and the Clark County Health Department for the last month. And have shared our plan with him, have discussed our plan with him. We also shared all of the principal plans for each school with the County Health Department and Dr. Yazel. They've looked them over. They've approved those plans. So we feel good about where we're at from the standpoint of starting. We realize there's been a little uptick in cases throughout the country, but also, locally. We're going to work with Dr. Yazel on that. Obviously, we've had to do that already here at Jeffersonville High School, where we're going to have Jeffersonville High School start online for a week before they return to in person. And frankly, that may be our new normal. That may be the new normal in terms of how we work through this at the various schools within our district.
For you, when you look at day-to-day, obviously things seem to change for every school system around the nation. And I know we've touched on this before, but Greater Clark being ahead of the curve with e-learning and pushing themselves out last year when you took over as superintendent, how big of an advantage has that given you going into this school year? And give some details when people say advantage of e-learning. What does Greater Clark have, say, on other school systems for e-learning that puts them ahead of others?
Well, I think, you've seen several school districts around us come out and delay their starts a week, 2 weeks, in Kentucky even later than that. We feel like we didn't need to do that because we already had a one-to-one initiative in place that's been in place for, 10 years or more. We also already had e-learning in place where our teachers have been trained. We had a couple practice e-learning days last fall. And then we had a couple of days where we had to use e-learning days before the COVID situation hit. So we felt good about where we're at. Now, can we improve our e-learning? Yes, and we need to do that. As we go through the start of this year with the My School Online option, we need to improve that. We need to do better with that, and we will do better with that. But we felt like, we were ahead of other districts. And what that allowed us to do in planning is survey our students and parents a whole lot sooner than what these other districts have around us. We've known for about 2 or 3 weeks already what our percentages are in terms of the students that want to come back in the traditional model and the students that want to be virtual. Whereas other districts around us, they're just finding out that information here in the last week. And frankly, if you don't know that information, it's hard to start school, because what we know in Greater Clark is right now, as we sit here today, right at 68% of our students, and we've talked to 90% of the parents and students in our corporation, but 68% have said they want to return to school in the traditional format. So that tells us right there that already our numbers are going to be decreased within our schools, and we're going to be able to social distance a little easier. Because some people are asking, why isn't Greater Clark doing the A day, B day schedule, the hybrid? Well, we already know that we're down to 68% of our students coming back. So we feel like that's a pretty good number in terms of being able to social distance, manage arrival, dismissal, lunches, and those type things. And then the other, there's about 25% that have told us they want to do virtual, and then there's still about 5% that are undecided. And those are coming in daily in terms of the undecided. So we feel good about where we're at. I will tell you, in my 27 years of education, and 20 of those years have been as a principal, or assistant principal, or superintendent. There hasn't been 1 year in my educational career where the start of school has been perfect. Now, have I had some real good starts? Yeah. Have I had some bad ones? Yeah. And I don't expect this one to go perfectly. Now, I think we're ready, and we're ready to get going. And we're going to, things will evolve as we go through this. And we'll work with the county health department on what we do as far as moving forward.
For parents and students, as you mentioned, 68% wanting to come back and go in the schools to the physical buildings. For the parents and students that are looking at the virtual academy or still undecided about coming back into the building for safety reasons, can you give a little bit of details about sanitation, some of the requirements that are going to help ease those concerns and create the school safety, not only physically for people, but the mental aspect of it, so they feel safe and confident to go into the buildings?
Yeah, and everyone is concerned about it. Staff, myself. It all starts with our parents at home. They need to monitor their children the night before school, the morning of school. If their child is showing any symptoms whatsoever, then they need to keep them home. We are also asking our parents to take their children's temperature the night before and the morning of school, and if they have any kind of temperature, then they need to keep them at home. In terms of here at school, if we're going to follow the CDC protocols in terms of, isolating students, quarantining students, then the contact tracing, we're going to work with the county health department on that and make sure that, then the county health department will contact any students or staff that were close to that student. Basically, what we've been told is an exposure is, when a student or a staff member has been within 6 feet of somebody for more than 15 minutes that had tested positive, and that's how we'll contact trace. Now, obviously, as far as cleaning protocols, we're going to make sure that all of our high touch points are cleaned daily and as often as we can during the day, whether it be door handles, just areas in bathrooms and things of that nature. We have hand sanitizer placed throughout each building. Each teacher will have hand sanitizer in the classroom. We have hand sanitizing dispensing stations strategically placed throughout each school. We'll also once a week we're going to have a company come in and electrostatic spray our schools. That'll be each Wednesday afternoon, evening, where they'll come in and spray. And if we have a situation where we have some exposure or a student has come into the school and then tests positive, maybe the next day or after that, then we're going to make sure we do our due diligence on looking at where that student was, what rooms, and spray those rooms down, and make sure that we do some heavy cleaning on those rooms where that student may have been. Or staff members. So, we have a plan in place, and we're going to follow that plan. When our students get on the bus, the students that are riding the bus, our bus drivers are going to take their temperature. If they have a temperature, then they're not going to be able to get on the bus. We're going to have call their parents and have the parents come and get them and make sure that they can get back in the house. If we can't contact the parent, then we do have a certain seat on the bus where that student will be transported to the school, isolated, until the parent can come and get that child. If the parent has already left for work or something like that. We also are going to have drivers throughout the corporation where they could come and pick up that student and transport them to the parent if need be, or to the school so that they're not on the bus, so that we can isolate them until the parent can come and get them. So, this thing, it'll be a little bit of a work in progress in terms of starting school and everybody getting used to the routines and protocols. But we have a lot of protocols in place, and we just got to make sure we follow them at this point.
With it being such a fluid situation, obviously things change. It could change by the time we have our interview come out. With the virtual academy, we've seen a lot of people jump into that. It looks like they're going to start off the year in the virtual academy, and there's chances that, we go in and we could come back out. Give some details on the virtual academy. I know we touched on it a little bit over a month ago, but Kim Hartledge leading the way on that, and just some of the benefits that the virtual academy offers, and how even if you aren't physically in school, it's still a good position to be in if you're a student or a parent.
Yeah, and really there's two virtual options. There's the My School Online option that keeps the child connected with the school and their teachers and their schedule. And that student, and there will be some flexibility there where the student could log in real time with the teacher and watch the lessons, but also the student could watch the recorded lesson later in the afternoon or the evening, and then do the work that's assigned by the teacher. So we want to provide flexibility for the student and the teacher in terms of how that is delivered on the My School Online option. The virtual school option is really a standalone program that will offer students the opportunity to get all their credits. We have restricted that just to the high school at this time in terms of the virtual academy. We didn't have enough students K through 8 sign up for it. So those students that had signed up for Virtual Academy in K through 8, we've moved over into the My School Online and feel like that'll be a real good option for them. But high school, that Virtual Academy option exists. We think it's a great thing because it does allow students the flexibility to work at their own pace. They're still going to be able to get support from teachers from Greater Clark. They'll still be able to earn credits. And we're working very diligently to make sure they can still get some dual credits and also AP type credits for college. So we're excited about kicking that off this year and bringing that opportunity to students in this area or this region of southern Indiana.
Here with Mark Laughner, the superintendent of Greater Clark County Schools, speaking on the school updates from COVID to school open times and everything in between. Just mentioned the virtual academy and all of the e-learning that's gone along with the last few months. Something a little bit off COVID that we've talked about, and really I think if you've seen grow here in the last couple weeks throughout Greater Clark, is the facility updates. We've seen the turf fields moving along at Jeffersonville and Charlestown. Can you give us a little bit of an update on what's going on with the facilities and some of the other projects that are going on in the school system?
Oh, things are progressing well. If you've driven by Jeffersonville High School or Charlestown High School, they pretty much, they have the turf done at both fields. It looks fantastic. They're working on the bleachers and the track at this time. When the product is finished, I think it's going to be a fantastic addition for both schools. New Washington Middle High, we refinished their basketball floor up there. It looks fantastic. We're putting new bleachers in their gym, which also look great. So those are good additions up there. The tennis facility at Charlestown High, I think they're getting ready to put the pavement down right now. And they're building the building up there. And we're getting ready to start the transportation facility, which should get started in the next week or two. And then also the swimming pool renovation at Charlestown Middle School should get started within the next week or two. So a lot of great things going on that'll improve our district and be great for our student athletes and also our transportation people.
And on the education side, we mentioned the facility upgrades for athletics, which have been, as we said, tremendous. If you've seen the pictures, look at them online of Greater Clark's social media or WJHI. The other big facility update we talked about before is the Franklin Square Elementary. That looks to be an incredible facility. I know groundbreaking we had. It feels like it was yesterday, but it's already progressed where the school looks to be completely ready to go. Can you share a little bit of the details about it? I know you guys put out a video, but it seems like it's going to be one of the top flight facilities we have here in Greater Clark.
Yes, I mean, it's really a great facility. The classrooms, the hallways in there, the space they have, compared to the space that those teachers and students had at Spring Hill and Maple is just fantastic, and it's a great building. and we are thrilled with opening that building, getting students in there, and also the programming we're trying to do in there. We're trying to do a lot of STEAM programming with the engineering, math, science, and also arts, to where we get that going, and hopefully that spreads throughout all the elementaries in our district. So we're very excited about that school opening, the programming we're going to do down there. We feel like hopefully it will attract students to that school, because it is going to be a real neat place for students to go to school.
Touching back on athletics for a second, is there any update? I know you just mentioned from the school standpoint, you're following governor's guidelines and working with the CDC and the local health organizations, but is there any update for IHSAA in terms of how much do you all follow them for, whether to start sports or delay? How much have you heard from them, and what's the latest on fall sports? I know everybody's kind of there on pins and needles when it comes to football, volleyball, and et cetera, but what's the latest from that standpoint?
Well, I actually talked to Chad Gilbert quite a bit, who's our athletic director up at Charlestown High School, who's on the executive council up there. I believe he's the president of the executive
Yes.
council. So I talked to him quite a bit, and the information I'm getting from him is they're pushing forward. They're going to push forward. That we'll have football this fall, and we'll have fall sports, and we'll continue to push forward with all safety protocols in place. So, at this point, I fully expect us to have a football season. Now, will every game be played? Will there be some hiccups along the way? Yes, I think there will. But I think from what I'm hearing from the IHSAA, they're going to push forward and try to definitely have a football season and fall sports season.
Last question for you here as we wrap up this edition of School Talk. July 27th, this will air. What's the message you want to give to the community, the parents and the students right now? I know we've talked about advantages and things that are in favor of Greater Clark, looking to be in pretty good position for the school opening, but with all that's going on in the world with COVID, etc., a very crazy time, and I know we've mentioned that before in previous shows, but it seems to be at a peak at this point with everything that's going on. What's the message you'd like to send out to the community and keep updated with the parents at this moment?
Well, I want the parents to know that we're going to be in constant contact with Dr. Yazel and the County Health Department, and we want to keep our staff and students safe. And this is going to be a very fluid situation. Change is going to occur. There's no doubt in my mind that as we go through this, we could see situations where maybe a number of schools are moved to e-learning, so students and staff aren't in the building, or students aren't in the building, while other schools are still open. As you know, Clay, we have 3 very different communities in Greater Clark, and there's a lot less COVID cases in New Washington and Charlestown than there are in Jeff. So there very well could be a situation as we go through this where maybe the Jeffersonville schools are moved to e-learning for a while, but the Charlestown schools and the New Wash schools stay open, or vice versa. And that guidance will come from the county health department. We're going to be in constant contact with them. Obviously, I believe if they see numbers starting to increase, especially amongst the population, 18 and under, they're going to give us guidance on what to do, whether it's at a certain school building or in a certain community. And we're going to follow that guidance. I mean, I want to make that very, very clear. In our conversations with Dr. Yazel and the Clark County Health Department, they have supported us opening on the 29th. And that's why we're going to open on the 29th. On the other side of that, if they tell us we need to, close down a building and move to e-learning, or close down several schools and move to e-learning for a period of time, we're going to follow their guidance, and we're going to do what they tell us to do.
Mr. Laughner, we appreciate you coming in. As I know, as you said, an incredibly busy schedule and things changing a lot, but we appreciate the update as of the moment, and hope to see you here soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That is Superintendent of Greater Clark County Schools, Mr. Mark Laughner, here on School Talk, July 27th. Another edition in the books. Great updates today on the COVID situation, facility upgrades, and also a few other details going on inside of Greater Clark County Schools. If you would like to watch the replay or hear the replay, you can tune in to the Red Devil Network at 1 and 7 p.m. every day. That'll be on 98.5 FM and WJHI.com streaming, and also live on TV cable 184. For the replay, for Mark Laughner, I'm Clay Abels here on School Talk. Thank you for tuning in now. 98.5 WJHI, LP Jeffersonville, home of the Red Devil Network.